and we are live for a new PhD Dojo. Hey, Gad.
Hey David, how are you?
Good.
It's
Yourself?
been very good. It's been a long time.
It's been quite a long time, and with the vacations, etc., and the beginning of the year, and anyway, there was a lot of stuff happening, but now we are here. We're back
Yeah,
for a brand new recording of the PhD Dojo. How are you? How have you been?
yeah, very good. It's a very uh, busy days. A lot of things that's going on. Yeah, busy days, but very exciting. What
Yeah.
about
Well,
you?
same thing. A lot of projects that have taken more of my time than usual, but it's good news. So, and even
Mhm.
projects to do with the podcast, with
Okay.
beyond the thesis. But anyway, I'll reveal what it's about when the time comes.
Mhm.
But yeah, today this question of where are the PhDs? What PhD and then what? What happens to people once they get out of this ride that is the PhD, and
Mhm.
eh, it's always a question that you get from people who are still in graduate school. There's this unknown of, well, if you don't stay in research, what happens? But I know that you have been given and have given recently a workshop on just that subject.
Mhm.
So I will let you start. From your point of view and from the conversations you've had and from the people you've met, where are the PhDs? What happens to them
Yeah,
in
it's
the
it's
job
it's
market?
it's. I mean, that's the first question because it gives some inspiration to everyone to know finally, because we are thinking always there's two ways or three ways: academia, which is a professor position,
Hmm.
or lab manager or lab work
Yeah.
in academia. There's people who think about entrepreneurship, which is another very clear way. You have to start your company and the other stuffs.
And the
So,
rest, yeah.
and the rest.
Yeah.
So yes, today we'll talk about the rest. Um, but I will come with a question for you, David.
Hmm.
What's your job? You have a PhD. What do you do?
Well, that's well, I'm let's say let me just shut my phones up because I had forgotten. And I think that's it. Yep. Um I'm kind of in the entrepreneurship side, but I'm working as a solopreneur, you could say. Anyway,
Freelance.
yeah, freelance, and there's different ways you can name it, but I have found my niche in the medical communication space,
Mhm.
doing writing, doing translations, but all specialized in the biomedical domain. So that's what happened to me so far. Now, well, there's the podcast, of course, the podcasting aspect, but it's for now. Things may change in the near future, but I wouldn't say it's a professional outcome yet or a job outcome yet. Anyway, I'll keep you posted.
Yeah, good. Um, yeah, for myself, I'm a project manager in technology transfers, and so so it's another kind of job that you can do with a PhD. So maybe we can talk later about it. But
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. Let's start from what is the ground of the PhD. A PhD is the only um, way to learn the scientific. And when I said scientific, it's not just in science, technology, but also in humanities, in social science. It's the scientific way of thinking. This is what you learn during your PhD, and you be an expert in the scientific way of thinking. And every thing in this world are based on that. So you make the hypothesis, you find a method to demonstrate this hypothesis, you come with the results, you interpret the results, and you make a conclusion. And everything is made in this way, finally. Like a lot of things are made in this way. So through the path, you can find some roles which has the same thing. So I'm thinking about first of all the analytical role. So every people who are analyst, data scientist, it could be analyst in science, but not just in science, but it could be in market research, in IP. IP, it's intellectual properties, but it could be also in policy. And I really think that as an analyst, every kind of PhD can have access to analytical roles. So that's one thing. That first niche that you can find your stuff. We talk about data science, but you don't need to be like a computer scientist to be in data science, because finally it's graph that you interpret and make conclusion and present your results. I mean,
So statistical tools and things like that, which everyone, mostly that does anything quantitative, will have used during their PhD.
Yeah, and we think after our PhD that it's an easy task, because finally we spend our time to read papers, to find the right data or the right results, and it seems like we are super trained and we think that it's easy. But for many people, finding the right information somewhere could be very overwhelmed. And because there's too much of data everywhere, how many scientific papers you have every days, how many journal papers you have every days, and is it a right source? Is it all that things could be very overwhelmed for everybody. But
and for us, it's just a tool that we use in our day to day.
Exactly.
Yeah. So analyst. So the first thing I'm getting is anything that says analyst in the job title.
Analyst
is a potential
that
is a potential good target for you.
Yeah, the second thing that I'm seeing is everything which is intellectual properties.
Okay.
So you have let's say 3 to 4 kind of jobs in intellectual properties. You have the patent agent. You need a PhD or master. You need to do like engineering or in technology. Patent agent, you need to do engineering or science. And to be a patent agent, you need a certificate that you're doing that after 2 years. But you have to be hired by a law firm or a patent agent firm who hire you for 2, 3, 4 years as a consultant, and then you are a patent agent after getting the certificate. You don't need to do a law school. But if you're a lawyer, you can be an IP lawyer, and after some years of as a patent agent, you can go to the law school for 3 years and be a lawyer. Okay. We can think about the examiner, which is the person who attacked the patent at the government. It's a government. Okay. And I don't think you need to be a patent agent to be an examiner. Should verify, but it's another space where you can find masters and PhDs there. Technology transfer officer. This is what I'm doing. You need a PhD or master for that. You can work as an analyst, as a project manager. You can work in the business development side or legal side. So it really depends on what you're doing. I'm thinking also about all the HR work. So you can think that recruiter or I don't know, manager in human resources, you just need to be a human resources studies, but it's not true. You can have a PhD. I know some scientific recruiters who has a PhD and they
Mhm.
recruit scientists to go in their companies.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
So
Do you
yeah,
think about other stuff?
so I do have other ideas. So one thing that I've seen is whenever there is an interface between, be it industry and academia or the
Hmm.
government and academia, it tends to be populated by PhDs
Hmm.
or by people with PhDs. Why? Because these different spaces, be it governmental, municipal, or the private, want people who can easily have conversations and don't need any translation or interpretation services when talking with scientists, with
Hmm.
researchers. So uh, there's I don't have like job titles per se, but I imagine some of them will be analysts, some of them will be liaison, some
Yeah.
sort of liaison agent.
Yeah.
I think that's a big space where people with, like you said, a background in research and a degree,
Exactly.
master's or PhD degree, are
So
necessary.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So I'm thinking about the people who are working at NSERC or
Right. Yeah.
CIHR,
Hmm.
who are program managers
There you go.
or policy advisor, who know exactly what would be like the next policies from the government and how to translate it to make a program that is valuable for funding research. So politics make like decisions.
Yeah.
We need a program to apply these decisions, and we need to design something. They are PhDs, the people who are doing that, because they,
Exactly.
as you said, they need to talk to the right language to be understandable to the scientists and people in the labs.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
And other, I know, so the FRQ, the Fonds de Recherche du Québec, have a few
Hmm.
very interesting programs now for people who just got their degree or who are in their postdoc. And the branches that I'm remembering off the top of my head, the first one is um, delegations. So the Quebec, the scientific Quebec delegations abroad, they
Hmm.
want scientific uh, not consultants, but scientifics in residence, I think that's what they call
Hmm.
them, exactly for what you were saying. Because there are projects, there are, I don't know, governmental priorities that have to do with science and with research, and they need someone on the team who can learn what there's to learn on the government side and on the policy side, and then sit down with researchers, with universities, etc. The other one is in the municipal domain.
Hmm.
So they want to get PhDs to spend, I think, a year, 2 years in a city as a scientific counselor for that city. The other one, I had mentioned three. The other one is actually in different ministère,
Yeah,
different government,
ministry. Yeah. Yeah.
different ministries. So, and I'm sure that these are fairly complex, the types of problems and issues that you're going to be dealing with. Because one of the fears people have, these conversations of what happens to PhDs, so often people say, oh, they dwindle and I know, die from boredom because they're not in academia
Hmm.
anymore. And I don't think
Yeah.
it's the case, and
No, no,
it's not the case,
no. It.
because
Yeah.
industries, private entities, government entities are dealing with complex projects, especially if there's an interface with research.
Yeah, exactly. So it's there's a lot of challenges, even more complex than making sciences, because you deal with real people, and
Yeah,
people are very complex.
exactly.
So
People,
yeah,
communities.
yeah.
Anyway, it's that there's a lot of space out there. So these are the ones that have been top of mind lately, that I wasn't aware of, and that I've been made aware of because of these FRQ programs, and that I found are very, very, very interesting. Um, very, very interesting avenues, and that often, because I've talked with students about these programs, these FRQ programs they're currently rolling them out, and the person said, "Oh, I saw it. I saw the announcement, but I thought it was for someone with 10 years of experience." Because it
Yeah,
was in a
no.
ministry, and no, that's not it at all. The idea of these programs is I think I think we know there's a surplus of PhDs coming out compared to the number of spots as a tenured professor. They're trying to kind of pollinize all these domains with people coming from research, and to bring this way of thinking and this way of solving problems into these domains, for a reason, because these domains need people with these types of skills.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking about another job name at the top of my head, and we can go in the, like, say, clinical jobs.
Okay.
So of course, clinical, you can do research in a research facility, but also in a clinical facility.
That's true.
It's especially for health science people, but sure, biologist or bioengineer could go there
Mhm.
very quick, very easily. And there's a job that you said, like, which is MSL, Medical Science Legion,
Yeah,
Legion.
it's true. That's a
and
very
and before it was for MDs, before
oh
they
yeah,
hired MDs.
that's
And
interesting.
they start to hire PhDs because we know better the science than
Than
MDs.
the
I'm sorry
MDs.
for that. Sorry, MDs. I know you're great, but yeah, yeah,
But
because
it's true.
yeah, and now they hire a lot of PhDs and looking for, like, people who has a very knowledgeable background in chemistry, biochemistry. You have to talk. You need to talk about, like, molecules and things like that. But at the same time, you have to be very social because you have to
Exactly.
understand the doctors, talk to the doctors, and see how the drugs is going on, or how the clinical trials are going on. So
Mhm.
there's
W-
also
w-
the work. Yeah, yeah. Go
Go ahead.
ahead.
Well, which brings me to another one that I actually know someone who was in that domain, which is clinical trials.
Hmm.
Another place where people go and do work around data, etc., coming out of their PhD is the agencies that I don't build and how can you say promote different and the different clinical trials. That's another one. And I had just had another one come up. But in industry, there's research happening in industry, and there
Hmm.
there are like research scientific positions out there. So that's more of a straightforward line of evolution from coming out of the lab from your PhD or your postdoc, but it's in the private sector.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of
I'm
people there.
I'm thinking also, like, biomedical engineer.
Biomedical
So
engineering.
biomedical engineers are the people in the hospital who organize the devices, maintenance of devices. You need to have, like, very organized mindset, because it's in the medical sector, so it's very you need to be, like, very precise and
Hmm.
very, very picky. So you need these kind of skills. And the medical sector, everybody work in a CRO, contract research organization. It's related to the lab and clinical trials. But also, if you work at the FDA or Health Canada, so it's a little bit of policy, but also a little bit of standards, and
Hmm.
also how you push a drug to the market, but on the side of the government.
Okay.
So you approved the drug in the after clinical trials. So you work with the clinical trials manager to push the drug on the market and be, like, arguing with this person, like, to organize how the data should be. It's very scientific work, but yeah, yeah.
Hmm. And then of course the you mentioned it in passing. A lot of people end up you know uh, building their own consulting profile,
Hmm.
and even eventually business. But a lot of people that I've seen, you get such an expertise in a specific subject that often, depending on whether it's a subject that's important or that's needed, in the
Mhm.
market, very often you can easily transition out from doing your PhD or your postdoc, whatever, to helping clients through consulting based specifically on your expertise. That's another one that I've seen, and that
Mhm.
I've interviewed people that have followed that path.
Yeah, like a scientific consultant, or you were an expert in a specific type of market, like medical technologies, for example.
Yeah. Well, no, the
And
one that's in vogue, cannabis.
yeah,
I've interviewed people
yeah.
specifically that were working on some aspect, I think a human aspect of
Mhm.
that, a sociological aspect, and they end up being consultants in that
Mhm.
domain.
On the business side, you can think like about the people work in banks.
Hmm.
So you can be like an analyst, a project manager, even an IP person in banks, um, or even like a VC analyst, like
Okay.
a venture capital analyst. It's more
Yes.
for
Yeah.
venture
Yeah.
capitals, but you can think on the bank side. You can imagine that a startup deep tech company goes to raise fundings, but
Mm-hmm.
to allow them to get the funds, you need to understand the technology
Of
first.
course.
So what kind of technology they are doing, what kind of intellectual property they have, what will be the business, and it's very analytical work, um, that you can think of. Also, I'm thinking about consulting manager.
Consulting manager. Talk about that.
It's it's um, it's like, as you said, a consultant, but you can be a freelance consultant, but you can work for McKinsey, Boston consulting groups,
Of course.
all that type of jobs where you need very, let's say, uh, problem solving skills. Because in this kind of work, you have always one question that a company comes to you and says like, how can I get more money? Can you help me? So you
Mm.
have to analyze all the company and things like that. Yeah, I'm thinking also like,
While you're
like
thinking, one that I know someone
yeah,
who has this title is um, field. Oh my gosh! Now I had it at the top.
a, a
Uh,
field application
field application specialist or something.
engineer. Yeah,
Field
it's
application scientist.
field application
And
scientist.
yeah, this is in
It,
the this is very in the very in bio
mhm,
uh, specific, but
yeah,
yeah, that's
you
one that I
you
know.
have the same kind of work in engineering. So you work for a company and it's more marketing job. So field application engineer, it's like you uh, the sales may sell a product and you have to train the people to the product.
Hmm.
So let's say a lab equipment, it could be uh, something like any kind of equipment, and you have to go to the client, train them, so you have like good teaching skills,
Yep.
and then you make the client support, because maybe the equipment is several, I don't know, 100,000 or millions dollars.
Yeah,
So
could be.
so it could be, and I don't know for your friend, but this is the same kind of equipment, so you have like, you need to know to support the client with
Yeah,
their specific fields.
and
Yeah.
these are such complex apparatuses that you need, no, the only person who will be able to teach how to use it is someone who worked on research on this type
Hmm.
of device.
Yeah, who nails the device, like
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
that's it. So the other now I'm looking here on LinkedIn, and the other one that I've mentioned research scientists. That's something I mentioned. The other one that I'm seeing is scientific advisor,
Mhm.
and then that evolves to medical scientific director or medical director, again in the pharma, because that's my space. But you can
Mhm.
really evolve, starting at a position that's maybe more marketing in the beginning,
Yeah.
or that's more a liaison, like MSL. There's the space for you PhDs out there to then evolve into other positions of larger scope and responsibility.
Yeah, we always think about the R&D engineer. So it's it's either you're doing an R&D in companies, but finally, what I understand about how company works, because you have to understand how company works. So
Hmm.
who decide in the company where we go the next products? It's not the R&D side; it's the marketing side.
Hmm.
So the marketing said to the R&D, okay, I need this data because I have to demonstrate that it works. Like the company, the product that I would like to make work is working. And at some point, if it's not working, they cut funds, and
That's it.
you work on the other stuffs. So this is how it works. And finally, I saw a lot of R&D people who were just like loving the lab, loving the things, but finally they have their PhD and they would like to be on the decisions, so they're going on the marketing side.
Hmm.
um, on the marketing side, you have product manager. um, it's more marketing job than a research job, um, because you have to talk to the client and validate all, like the market, if there's a market for the future products. um, we can think about UX, user experience researchers,
Yes.
or engineers, which is
Yeah.
typically, yeah.
It's very current. It's very modern. And I
Mhm.
was surprised a lot of people coming from like psychology and domains
Yeah,
like that
yeah.
are really well suited with their PhD training for that type of position.
Hmm. I heard the other day that Ubisoft hired uh, people who has PhDs in history just for their games. So
Wow.
it's very, very, very interesting.
Now, Gad, one of the other things that I've positions that I've heard that actually got me curious, and I think you probably know exactly what it's about. When someone with a PhD that I'm going to LinkedIn, find someone and says Chief Innovation Officer. What's the
Okay,
type of position exactly?
CIO,
Yeah, yeah.
a Chief Innovation Officer. You can think about it. You are in a startup company, and it's a position. It's an executive position. You're the boss of the innovation in the company. So it's like if you work in a medium size or large company, you will be the product manager. But in a in the startup company, who say that you're a chief innovation officer.
Okay.
So it's not so far from, I would say, like, it really depends, because in the title in a startup company are very relative. Um, so you have CTO, so technical officer,
Yeah.
or scientific officer, sometimes CSO, CIO, so innovation officer is more the person who try to find, like, what would be the next innovation for the company. But you don't have a team, you alone, except if you are in a very growing up startup where you have like 20, 40 employees.
Okay.
But this is make mainly what you do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, while we're getting towards the end of this
Hmm.
conversation, one of the things that I know is a challenge for people out there, and that's actually statistics. It's not. It's less a challenge for guys than for girls, apparently, which is the job postings that you see very rarely say PhD required, or you know
Mhm.
pr- uh, uh,
Sometimes PhD is an
ideal.
asset.
Yeah, well, sometimes it appears.
Yeah.
So when you're, because what it looks like from our conversation is that PhDs are, everywhere, basically. In wherever there's innovation, there's R&D, there's decision making that requires analysis of large amounts, or complex uh, data sets or information sets. PhDs are suited to be in those places.
Yeah.
But the often the challenge is, oh, but I don't see, when I see, and apparently women, when they see uh, a job posting that has a lot of things that don't fit exactly their profile, they tend to apply less than guys. But
Mhm.
forgetting that, if you are, do in your PhD, in your postdoc, and you want to start looking at other things, I feel that one of the things that happens is that people kind of shoot themselves in the foot by disqualifying themselves, auto disqualifying themselves for
Mhm.
job postings that might be interesting for them. Do you have any advice for this part of, like, job
Yeah.
hunting and job posting analysis and choice?
Yeah. So we gave a lot of keywords today. So it's keywords. So
Hmm.
sometimes the title is a bit different. Check who has the same keywords. So who's consulting manager, and maybe what we've talked about today is could be interesting to you, and you would like to be a bit more curious about it. So maybe it's a good idea to contact somebody who's a consulting manager, for example. I'm taking just an example, but
Yeah.
who's consulting and manager, and ask them for an informational interview. So you will understand what's the day to day for a consulting manager, what was their role, and maybe you will be like very surprising, and think like it's for you. Maybe you will think that it's not for you, and pick another role and do the same thing. So it's more like that. So it's one thing. The second one is we all know our, as you said, like the imposter syndrome. Like when you read something, it's just like,
Yeah.
well, it's not for me. I don't understand what they're talking about.
Hmm.
What are they talking about? PMP? What's that? It's
Hmm.
so I understand that there's a little bit of jargon to know, but the more you do that work of picking information, the more you will understand the jargon. That's one thing. The thing about the PhD title, go through it. Like, even if it requires a bachelor, and you think that a role is for you, and you think that a role match with what you would love to do after your PhD, go for it. You have the experience. You didn't learn it, and you didn't learn it as the others. So beyond that, you have the experience, and you have like the skills.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and the skills, you learn it with research through the research, like by the
Hmm.
research, through the research. Um, so I don't think it's you. If you like love it, do it. Like, try to understand what is the role, or even call somebody who has the same role to understand
Yeah.
what kind of position it is.
Actually, often, I'm thinking of LinkedIn. There's someone that's responsible for hiring, and sometimes it appears who the person uh, is that is putting the posting out there. So why not also talk to that person and maybe say, and maybe ask they could be the first, lower barrier to access person to ask more details about it. But I find this interesting, this point of yours of, if it's attractive to you, go for it. And I think that's a good
Mhm.
rule of thumb.
It's you need minimum a bachelor. Okay, yeah, you have a master and a PhD, so go for
So
it.
that's it. Now,
If it
one thing that
requires, yeah, if it requires a master, you have it.
you have it. It's true. You fulfill the requirements. Now, what something that can happen, and I have had people share the stories of this, is you getting to the interview and the person saying, the team in front of you saying, um, it this would be a great fit, but we feel for some reason that you having a PhD is not going to be, is going to impact something negatively, be it other colleagues or whatever. I think in that case, you just need to accept that. You need to take the positive.
Mhm.
Usually people say if it's tell you if they think the fit would have been good in terms of skills, but getting that first position or changing jobs is it's not a it's not one shot, one bird. It's a statistics game, so you need to do a few interviews, accept
Yeah,
that in some of them for some reason the fit will not be there from their side, and just move forward to the next
yeah,
one.
and the interview is there. They would like you to know if you fit with the company, so and fit with the team. And if you don't fit with the team, it's nothing about your skills and your past. It's just because you don't fit with the team and the company,
Hmm.
and you're not the right person, and that's fine. You will be the right person for somebody else.
Hmm. I have a feeling that in the coming years, more and more companies will hear you say, "And I have a PhD in this," and will take it naturally. And I think right now, there might be some surprise on their side in different organizations,
Hmm.
but I think it will change for the better in the coming years because because of that we're doing here, Gad and I, but
Hmm.
also because of the movement, uh the global movement, and the fact that so many people are coming out with with PhD degrees, that it's becoming less of an unknown and more of a recognized asset.
Exactly.
um so we're getting to the end of the interview. I wonder. I had an idea as you were talking. Um, I don't know if you have some last words, but so we talked about not being afraid of the lists of things required in, or ideally required in job postings. They're just indicative of the best case scenario for the employer.
Hmm.
But if you feel some attraction to a position, go for it and make your case. You're going to need to make your case. Then yeah, the last thing that I mentioned is I've heard repeatedly of people hiding the fact that they have PhDs because of this perception that if I say I have a PhD, I will be seen as overqualified and maybe over demanding, or maybe that I just want to get this position for as a stepping stone for something else. It's a bit saddening to me, but I guess
Hmm.
it reflects this ignorance, this lack of knowledge of what a PhD is and what it can bring to a team.
Hmm.
So I wish I stopped hearing these stories going forward. And again, hopefully I will, and people will have less and less trouble finding their path, their professional path after their degree. I don't know. Do you have some final words, Gad?
Um, yeah, it's on the employer side. Well, there's employers who doesn't know what what is a PhD and what it is, but at the end of the day, they will be happy with you. Like, I'm sure of it. So the stats says these things. So great. There's the last type of jobs that I didn't talk about, and I think it's very great for the last words.
Excellent.
Um, it's project management in business development.
Okay.
So business development is a great job. and the second lab is looking for somebody.
Ah, awesome.
Awesome. So is looking for a full-time person in business development and project management, and you will work with us. So um, that would be awesome. So if you interested, you can go to our LinkedIn page, and you will find the position. So it's a good
Excellent.
yeah.
And just as in a minute, what type of projects will what type of goals does a person in this type of position have?
So we develop a mentorship and professional development program, um, for PhDs, masters, and postdocs.
Okay,
So this
okay.
is what we will do.
And you're trying to
And
develop the model, is that it?
yeah, we developed the second lab model, um, bigger, like
Scaling
in
it
a
up.
bigger yeah, we're scaling up.
Excellent. Well, if you are watching, if you're listening, and if helping the community is something that you might love doing, don't hesitate to contact Gad to find the Second Lab on LinkedIn. And they're a great team.
Mhm.
I have interacted with the mentees, and they're also cool and interesting people. And yeah, I can only recommend you contact them and you see whether it's a good match for you.
Yeah, thank you, David. I think it's
My pleasure, Gad. My pleasure. And yeah, I think this is it for this return of the PhD Dojo. Of course, looking back, PhDs are in a lot of places. There's no
Mhm.
specific, so there's no specific place where they go. But some keywords are there. If you listen back, if you take notes, you will find it, and then you take those notes onto LinkedIn or wherever you look for job postings. You will see that you'll start seeing postings that might be of interest to you, and then it's just a question of you telling your story of your academic journey, and then making parallels and making a point of why you would love doing this job, and what's your motivation behind it, and what skills you bring from your academic journey that you can leverage to help the organization, be it a private organization, a government organization, to help them reach their goals. I think that's the main thing here.
Yeah, and beyond that, there's non-for-profit and universities, because
Of course,
there's PhD at the university services.
of course, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah. And yeah, I think it's I love what I did after research. So
Yeah.
and I'm hearing a lot of people who say that. So
No,
so
no,
it's
for sure.
yeah.
It's there's a lot of very fulfilled people out there. A bunch of them on the podcast. So go listen to
Hmm.
older episodes if you want to get inspired. But the point is, there are positions out there. There is a need out there for people like you. So don't hesitate to look at what's outside your university walls and to start asking around and trying to find out what would be a great fit for you, or where you could be a great fit for a team. So
Hmm.
that's it. God, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, David.
It's been great seeing you again after these few months,
Hmm.
and looking forward to this new season of the PhD Dojo.
Yeah.
All
Bye,
right.
David.
Bye, God. Everyone, thank you so much. Who've been watching. We have had someone on LinkedIn here. Um, let me see. Hamid, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for your comment. Gad, you have someone here who is a fan.
Hi.
Thank you, Hamid. And yeah, thanks for everyone who was here for the live recording. I'll see you in the next live recording of Beyond the Thesis. Cheers. Bye, Gad.
Cheers. Bye.